The 10th Africa Regional Forum on Sustainable Development kicks off. And also on these hours, Scholar reflects on diplomatic political aspects of the Memorandum of Understanding with Somaliland. Hello and welcome to EBC World. I'm Asghar Matnaf with the hour's latest. The 15th Sultan of Afar, Ahmed Ali Mira, has arrived in Addis Ababa. The Sultan was warmly welcomed upon arrival at the Addis Ababa Bole International Airport by high-ranking government officials, including Deputy Speaker of the House of Federation, Zahra Humid. Ahmed Ali Mira is the son of a renowned Sultan Ali Mira, who was the spiritual leader of the people of Afar. Ahmed Ali Mira becomes the 15th Sultan of Afar people last year, following the pass away of his brother, Hanfrey Ali Mira. Accordingly, the Sultan returned home today after staying abroad. The Sultans of the Afar people have been held for their contribution in resolving social and political challenges through cultural mechanisms. The serial Leishman Siasis has entered phase 2 clinical development in a trial conducted in Ethiopia by the not-for-profit research organization Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative and its partners. Leishmaniasis causes fever, weight loss, spleen, and liver enlargement, and if not treated, a person experiencing it risks death. The leishmaniasis is mainly prevalent in Eastern Africa, South Asia, Latin America. Eleni Ayala, co-principal investigator of the clinical trial at the Leishmaniasis Research and Treatment Center, University of Gondar, said the treatment is vital in addressing the recent treatment limitations. 1 billion people are at risk globally, and Eastern Africa has currently the highest number of cases. The clinical trial in Ethiopia is financially supported by the European and developing countries Clinical Trial Partnership as a part of the VL-ENO project, bringing together a whole range of partners.
Bali is one of the largest zone areas in Ethiopia and home to the Bali Mountains National Park. Its Afro-alpine climate is set to host the highest incidence of endemic wildlife per area in the world. These mountains get less of a spotlight compared to the mountains in the northern part of Ethiopia.
Ethiopian State Minister for Planning and Development Fizum Asafa says Ethiopia is one of the few countries that have registered results in implementing the goals of Agenda 2063. Asafa made the remark in her keynote address to the 10th African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development, which kicked off here in Addis Ababa in the premises of United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Tigisanas has attended the event and compiled the following account.
Honored to welcome you. The African Regional Forum on Sustainable Development is an annual intergovernmental and multi-stakeholder platform mandated by the UN General Assembly through its resolutions 67/290 and 70/299. The forum was put into operations following the adoption of resolutions 930 and 939 at the 8th and 9th joint meeting of the Specialized Technical Committee on Finance, Monetary Affairs, Economic Planning and Integration of the African Union and the Conference of African Ministers of Finance and Planning and Economic Development for Africa held in 2015 and in 2016 respectively. United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed in her keynote speech for her part stated that the political declaration of Sustainable Development Goals must be followed by concrete, ambitious and transformative action.
Africa's leadership and collective voice will be essential to making the SDG stimulus a reality and taking decisive steps towards a global financial architecture that is more equitable, resilient, responsive, and accessible to everyone. Excellencies, colleagues, the political declaration is only a first step. It must be followed by concrete, ambitious, and transformative action that will put us on the path to deliver the SDGs by 2030, but also the ambitions of the continent by 2063.
In her opening remarks during the occasion, Ethiopian Minister of Planning and Development, Dr. Fizum Asafa, indicated that Ethiopia is one of the few countries that have registered results in implementing the goals of Agenda 2063.
Ethiopia has made significant progress in mobilizing the domestic and international resources for rapid and sustained economic growth and development. In fact, Ethiopia is one of the few African countries that have registered impressive results in implementing the goals of Agenda 2063, especially in mobilizing innovative financing. This experience would be benchmarked for accelerated implementation of the remaining goals of the strategic plan. We have also witnessed the power of innovative domestic resource mobilization for investment in the areas of tourism sector development, climate action like afforestation and watershed management programs, housing programs for the most vulnerable, and school improvements and access to school, especially in the general education sector.
Ugandan Prime Minister Robina Nabanja stated that Uganda, like many other countries, has come up with key commitments for accelerating sustainable development. AU Deputy Chairperson Monique Nisanza Bagnoa, for her part, called on African governments to continue to work collectively, even though going through multifaceted crisis, and also synergizing efforts from AU and UN, she says, is much needed. The African Regional Forum undertakes integrated follow-ups and reviews of the Sustainable Development Goals of the Agenda 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals in the Agenda 2063 of the Africa We Want of the African Union. This is because for Africa, both agendas provide a synergetic framework for achieving inclusive and people-centered developments in the region. Tigis Cernisa reporting for ABC World.
Following the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the President of Somaliland and the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, one of the hot issues floating in the air was that of recognition. Some have expressed fears that it may signal premature recognition. Reflecting on this issue, Matt Bryden, a strategic advisor for a think tank group based in Nairobi, said this argument does not apply for Somaliland, a state practicing independence for the last 3 decades. Matt Bryden also dismissed fears by some that the deal might end up swelling the ranks of the Al-Shabaab. Johannes Fantaun has the full story.
Somaliland, a self-declared republic in the northern part of Somalia, has been seeking international recognition since declaring independence in 1991 following the collapse of the Somali government. The issue of recognition resurfaced following the MOU signed between Ethiopia and Somaliland in January. But for Matt Bryden, this claim of Somalia's government contradicts with the reality.
In reality, the Somaliland issue has been there for more than 30 years. Somaliland has been acting independently of Somalia since 1991. So why now is it a problem? It's a problem because Ethiopia has suggested that it might recognize Somaliland in exchange for basing rights and other prerogatives. So, but the issue is not really an international one, whether Ethiopia does or doesn't. Ethiopia has been Somaliland's closest partner for over 2 decades. So that hasn't changed either. It's the political issue of recognition and Somalia choosing to make this about Ethiopia and not about Somaliland.
The other critical issue raised in this regard is the argument about premature recognition. Taking into consideration the fact that Somaliland has been operating as a self-declared independent state, Biden argued the applicability of premature recognition.
The recognition of states is a sovereign prerogative of other states, unless they're interfering in the internal affairs of another state through what's called premature recognition. In this case, Somaliland has existed as a fact for more than 30 years. Somalia was a failed state. The federal government in Mogadishu is still very weak and relies on foreign troops even for its survival. So I don't think the argument of premature recognition can apply here. So in other words, Ethiopia's actions are entirely legal. The challenge is a political one and a diplomatic one, not a legal one.
The Somali government has also tried to link the MOU with fears that it might end up allowing the Al-Shabaab's base to get stronger and increase recruitment from within the Somali community. However, Sam's strategic advisor described this move of the Somali government as trying to divert attentions away from some factors.
The other issue that Somalia has raised is that this will strengthen Al-Shabaab and it will threaten regional security because of the Al-Shabaab factor. And I'm afraid that this simply doesn't add up. Al-Shabaab was a threat before January 1st, 2024, when the MOU was signed. Al-Shabaab has been gaining ground in recent months against the federal government in Mogadishu. Al-Shabaab has been attacking Ethiopia consistently over the last more than a decade. It's tried to bomb Addis Ababa on several occasions. It tried to invade eastern Ethiopia in 2022, and it has attacked Somaliland since 2003. Somaliland was the first victim of Al-Shabaab aggression. So the MOU doesn't change that, and it doesn't make Al-Shabaab stronger. I think the federal government is using that to try to divert attention away from the fact that it is struggling, that African Union forces are supposed to leave this year, and that Somalia will find itself defenseless and endangered unless it can find a substitute for the African Union forces.
The deal, according to several observers, promotes regional economic development and cooperation.
Well, before I sign out, let me now remind you of top stories of the hour once again. The 10th Africa Regional Forum on Sustainable Development kicks off. And Scholar reflects on diplomatic political aspects of Memorandum of Understanding with Somaliland. Well, that's it we have with the hour. Many thanks for watching. I'm Oscar Matnafo. It is bye-bye from me.